What's up, everybody? The Just Like Brothers Rapid Reaction Football Show is
back
for this week. My man Leica is one of the busiest people in all of show business and around this state. So he's been kind of preoccupied going around. You know, he had the Fab 40 basketball, and of course,
shout out to Charles.
I think the weekend before he had a little bit of car issue. So now we're back. We're ready to rock. We got so much to talk about. Conference play is now officially all under the way. There was a big one, controversial one in your area for the 3A, 4A ECC, which kind of it says some things about where that conference is going. So talk about the Conley and Rose finish that you saw.
Before we start, just to make sure you know who we are, I'm Leica BB, that's Kai Jones, owner of WJG Sports. But yes, we're back. Glad to be back, and of course, as you mentioned, that Conley-Rose matchup, of course, the Pitt County rivalry
lived up.
It lived up to the billing. Of course, our guy
double overtime.
No, just one overtime.
One overtime. Yeah.
But our guy Jake Keeter, who was on our last Just Like Brothers podcast episode, was out there, of course. Yes, there was a controversial finish. Conley started up 21-7. Rose came back, tied the game. It was tied throughout the fourth quarter. Conley had a chance to win it in regulation with like 3 seconds left. But I think the throw pass was incomplete. And it went to overtime, of course, as just mentioned. And Conley opened with the ball and scored a touchdown. But on Rose's possession, they had a 4th and goal at about the 3-yard line. I believe it was a sweep play to the boundary.
Right.
And the kid appears to reach the ball over the pylon, which would signal a touchdown. But from my vantage point, it looked like the referee ruled that he had a foot out of bounds before that happened.
And from the video that I saw, it looked like that as well. It looked like his foot kind of slipped onto that white spot. Of course, video normally, like I said, the video was kind of quick from what I saw. It was a very short video.
Yeah, and you know how people are with controversial plays. All the Rose fans are going to say, of course it was a touchdown. All the Conley fans are going to be like, well, his foot was out of bounds,
Right. But, of course, Rose still would have had to make the 2-point conversion.
Yes. We had a conversation about that, yes.
So it kind of is a minute point at this point. It just sucks for Rose for it to end like that when you consider that now they are now, 2-5?
Yeah, they might, in my opinion, they're the best 2-5 team in North Carolina. I think...
I think you'll see the adjusted max prep rankings will still have them probably on the bubble. Even though normally when you have a 2-win team in the 3A, normally you're out. That's it.
But y'all should see the schedule the Rampants have played. I mean, they've played Rocky Mount, Northeastern, Southern Nash. I mean, those are 3 really good programs.
They've definitely ran
it up. And of course,
when it comes right. But of course they've ran it up. So now we're going to a point now where I think what are they now 0-2 in the conference now?
Yes, 0-2 with a loss to New Bern and a loss to Conley. Yes.
But with this conference being so crazy, you're still technically in it, even though right now that win is so huge for Conley because now they are in the driver's seat of this conference because everyone in this conference has a loss except for them.
Yep, because they beat New Bern. They beat New Bern down.
They beat New Bern down, beat Southern down, and then win this game.
So now the ball is in their court to see if they
control their destiny.
Yes, that's correct. And they might have the most momentum of any of the teams I've covered. So even albeit controversial, they deserve a lot of credit. They got the win. They beat their rival. And it should be a fun ECC 3A 4A race.
Right. And speaking of everyone having a loss now, of course, the only other defeated team who came into this week leading the conference, CB Aycock, they lost to New Bern.
Yeah, so they're no longer undefeated in conference.
I believe 51-16 or something.
It's 57-19.
57-19, right. So
New Bern must have been angry from that last week.
Yeah, and you got to think, too, CB Aycock beat the brakes off of New Bern last year.
That's true.
So I'm sure those kids who are still on that team are still very upset about that. But yeah, it was. I haven't actually talked to Coach Brooks yet to find out exactly how it happened, but you can tell that it was a rough night for the Falcons. But the last time they had a game like this where they lost really big, they went on a 3-game winning streak. So if they were to go on another 3-game winning streak, they'd finish out the season 9-2,
which would be great. I think
and you win the conference.
I think that's correct because they played Conley, so it would come down to these.
So even though Aycock lost that game, they still technically control their destiny because they still have Conley, they still have Rose, and they have
Rose
Eastern
next
Wayne.
week. By the way, that's the Rose.
And Eastern Wayne, of course, made me look like a fool because I said that Southern Wayne would win for the first time since 2010 against Eastern Wayne.
Shout out to the Warriors, first win of the year.
Yep, and I was completely wrong. Desmond Vaughn came back, had himself a great night.
Good to see him.
I'm looking forward to checking them out next week against New Bern. Because of course, our game of the week is going to be in Kinston, but we'll talk a little bit more about
that. We'll get to that just a second.
But
of course, yes, congratulations to Eastern Wayne and Coach Rose.
They did their thing, man. They passed the ball around. I mean, at one point in time, I believe they were tied at 20, and then I think Eastern Wayne scored 30 unanswered.
Wow.
So 50 to 20.
Offensive explosion,
for them. You got to think for them, though, they only have one loss in this conference. I mean, technically, if Desmond Vaughn is back and they can get the rolling and doing it like they need to, I mean, there's still a chance for the Warriors now.
If they
look at it.
Yeah, all you want is a chance to get back in the conference race. I'm not sure it will come next week, but at least having him back for this game is for them to feel good about.
Right. And, like I said, though, they control their own destiny as well because they still have Conley, they still have Aycock. So
that's true.
Those two teams right now are in the driver's seat. They control their own destiny.
And that Aycock game is going to be like the Wayne County Championship, if you will, right?
Well,
or like a chance for Aycock to sweep Wayne County.
It would sweep the county pretty much. The only other team that they didn't play was Spring Creek. Shout out to Spring Creek, of course. They lost a very close game in Beargrass Charter.
They play them again, so they'll have another chance.
Right, exactly, at home. So, but anyway,
South Central was off this week for the 3A4.
Right.
So I think that covers the
that covers that conference. Like we said, Eastern Wayne controls their destiny.
Conley does.
Aycock does. So those are the three teams right now that you got to look at in the driver's seat. Southern Wayne, you're probably out of it now because you have 3 losses now in the conference. Rose, 2 losses. South Central, I believe they have 1 loss.
They should be 1-1, I think.
Okay, they're 1-1, so they're technically in the driver's seat too. So pretty much we've got to see who pretty much emerges from this big cluster.
Yeah, this conference race is not over by any stretch. Don't look at it and say it's over yet.
Yeah, now we're gonna, of course, Conley is going to have a non-conference this week against Washington, who made yet another statement, making me also look like a fool as well, because I have been banging the Aiden Griffin drum for all summer, all fall, and now I can't keep drumming. It's Washington is very much looking like the best team in this conference. Just looking at them on film as well, they really just beat up Aiden Griffin, and you don't beat up Aiden Griffin too often. You don't get that chance. Of course, Aiden Griffin was down 6 starters, so
including Vito Boyd and Michael Webb.
And that was one of the things that we talked about, of course, during the preseason was as long as they stayed healthy, that they could have a chance to win this conference. But talk to me about what you really saw that was kind of the problem for Aiden Griffin, and also why Washington is, we both now think is the favorite.
Well, it was a 37-12 win for the Pan Pack. It was a close game for about 2.5 quarters, maybe close to 3 quarters. Washington forced 5 turnovers. 2 of them were a fumble recovery in the end zone, and then a fumble return touchdown on back-to-back possessions in the fourth quarter. Terry Moore had 146 yards rushing. He continues to be great. And he's only a sophomore. Of course, Jaden Hamrick ran well again. Antoine Godley had 2 rushing touchdowns. The option attack was working. Their defense was working. I'm not gonna definitively say they're the best team because Wes Craven deserves some credit as well.
Right, we haven't seen Wes Craven.
But their results are showing that it's going to come down to that game.
I mean, when you look at Washington right now, they are currently the top team in the 2AA according to High School OT when it comes to adjusted max prep.
Oh, they're definitely a contender. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Washington's not a contender.
They're definitely a state title contender, especially when you look at it. Southwest Edgecombe, I believe, is a small 2A.
That would help them, yeah.
I think Northeastern is small 2A as well. And I think those are two teams are the best from the East. Really.
You also have to include Hertford County, who just beat
Hertford
Northeastern.
County, yes.
They just beat Northeastern, and Northeastern, I believe, has a quarterback injury as well for this week.
Okay, gotcha.
That will be a situational monitor for another time.
Hertford County, of course, is also a contender. So sorry for that, Bears.
But nonetheless, Washington ran for close to 300 yards. They were physical at the point of attack. Both lines were excellent throughout the entire game. And Washington definitely has. They should be like co-favorites with Wes Craven right now, in my opinion.
Right.
But that's nothing against Washington.
For me, the thing that Washington does that makes me think they're the clear favorite. You take two teams, both undefeated teams. You let them come into your house, and you blow them out.
Oh, that's true.
Washington
knows we're picking against them, so they're using every bit of this to stick it to the coaches and the media stuff.
Of course, we played a little bit of music for Washington.
We had them second, correct?
Yeah, we had this being a big cluster.
Oh,
right.
Like we really didn't know. This conference is so tough to pick.
I mean,
it's every year.
It's all about injuries and who is playing what at what time.
Washington's playing really.
And Washington is playing their best football right now.
Yes, they are. And their only losses to a great Tarboro squad, of course.
Tarboro, if they were in this conference, would win this conference by 2 or 3 touchdowns every night. So
but nonetheless, Washington, I think they have. I want to say they have an off week. Or something?
Yeah, no, they play Conley this week.
Oh yeah, it's not an off. It's not an off week. It's a big week, I should say.
Yeah, they gotta play Conley. If you beat Conley now, you're definitely looking at a team who is looking at as a state title contender.
And that would be at Conley. It should be a huge game.
Right. Of course, we were talking about Wes Craven too, and they beat Kinston last year. Kinston won 14-6. The year before, I believe it was a 2-point game in favor of Wes Craven. So I mean, this series has been back and forth, and now I think you got to look at Wes Craven as a team who's definitely either second or first now. Now November 1st, that sets up kind of a pretty much a conference title game between Washington and Wes Craven.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Kinston's kind of been struggling with the injury bug, but
especially the Demetrius Holmes.
Yeah,
and really last year, that's what really made them so amazing was that Kieran Hooker played every single snap just about, and he was awesome in just about every single snap.
And Demetrius
been awesome. I knew he was going to be awesome last year, looking at him as a wide receiver and a safety on that team. But it's just when you have injuries, you can't really game plan for that. So now you got guys coming off the bench who are cold, might not be as prepared. But Kinston, they got a big matchup next week, so there's no laying down.
It was a 1-score game going into the fourth quarter. I believe Rudy Coggins from News was there. And Wes Craven deserves a lot of credit. They're a team that kind of went under the radar as well in the coaches poll preseason rankings.
See, but Wes Craven's always like that. Nobody talks about them, and then somehow they end up right near in the top 2 or 3, and that's in every single sport just about, except for a couple of them.
Yeah, they're really well coached football team as well. They have a great coaching staff out there.
Right.
And yes, November 1st might be for the Eastern Carolina 2A Conference Championship.
Yeah, that's the way it looks for right now.
Yes, for now.
Of course, Green Central, they got a big win over South Lenore.
It was 59-26.
Yep. That's really huge. You know what? South Lenore has been kind of the team who's been kind of the punching bag over the last few years in this conference. But still, scoring 59 for Green Central is huge for them.
Considering when you consider they in their previous 4 games they only scored 59 points total.
Yeah. So really, just seeing their offense come alive is just important because it hasn't been the defense this year. It's been the offense. Normally,
the defense this year has been playing lights out. I mean, they didn't give up an offensive touchdown to North Pitt the other day, the previous game.
Right.
They only gave up 6 to Eastern Wayne, right?
Right.
And shut out Farmville Central. I know Farmville's been struggling.
Right, but still.
But still, the defense has played pretty well. The offense just hadn't been able to get going. But
don't get me wrong. Giving up 26 to Sophomore, I don't think that's that concerning to me. Just because the way Sophomore plays, they're gonna push you and they're gonna press your corners and press. Because of the way that they throw the ball around is just so impressive.
Southamore's they're a good squad.
They're a good squad, but they're in a tough situation right now.
And like we say, we love this Eastern Carolina 2A conference, and we know how difficult it is, not just in football, but every sport.
Right. Of course, Wilfenor was off.
Yes, that's correct. I want to also shout out Jaden Tyson from Green Central.
Right.
Had 4 rushing touchdowns. This is his second varsity game. And he had over 100 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he's up to 300. I want to say he's up to 300 yards now.
And 5 touchdowns in his last 2 games because he had one against North Pitt.
Right. So he's doing a great job for them. I think we've talked a lot about the EC2A. Now let's kind of slide on down the road to Johnson County here with the Greater Noosa Rivers Conference.
All right, I like that conference.
Yeah.
It's a great conference. You had a couple of you had your game of the week came out of that conference.
Right, of course, Clayton versus South Johnson. Unfortunately, I didn't get there until late, but Jalen Chadwick improved his case for Player of the Year, Running Back of the Year, all of that. He told me he was going to make sure that I put his name on a list, and yeah,
it's good. It's good that they're reading. They're reading it. Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely going up on the list. I believe he had 14 carries I think it was 12 carries for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That is good.
And he didn't play most of the second half.
That's pretty good for like 3 quarters.
Yeah, I think he played a little bit in the third quarter. He didn't play at all in the fourth though. Daniel Alford, I believe that's the kid's name. Sorry if I said your first name wrong. He came in and closed it out. I believe he had 12 carries for like 60 yards or something like that, and a touchdown.
But the Comets really needed this game, considering they have played a tough schedule like we've been saying through the last few weeks, but this is a game they needed.
And the thing about the tough schedule thing now that's really helped them out is if you can reel off another 3 or 4 wins, if you can reel off another 3 wins in your last 4 games, you're going to be rolling in there a little bit better off than most teams just because you have a tough schedule, so you're going to have a better adjusted max prep ranking.
Absolutely. And I would put them at 6 wins if they could go 3-1 the rest of the way.
Right. Of course, like I said, Jalen Chadwick was amazing. South Johnson, their offense, it really was just toughing them around. I believe the Comets held them to -2 yards on the ground. So, yeah.
That is stingy.
Yeah, it was either 2 yards or -2 yards. So either way,
that's still
dang. Yeah, South Johnson, they just couldn't run the ball against them. They have to bounce back next week. They got West Johnston.
Another county rival. I like that.
Yeah, and then Clayton has East Wake. Of course, East Wake just got blew out by Cleveland, 47-0.
I'm sure Cleveland will remain the top team in the WJG power rankings.
Yeah, that's not needless to say.
Those will come out Monday, correct?
Yeah,
yes, Monday. Check that out.
Check out the WJG Sports Power Rankings for football every Monday from now on to the rest of the season. So, but then also too, we're talking about West Johnson. Now they have they
picked up a win over
Triple S. And
that's 2 wins in a row now, right?
Yeah, here's the thing. They got 2 wins now. Probably need 3. Probably need 3 to make the playoffs.
Like 3 more?
Yeah, I could see it.
Are you buying your West Johnston stock?
Oh man, I don't know.
You buying into the Wildcats, Kai Jones?
I'm putting them on a watch list. I'm putting them on my watch list.
You're putting them on the little side pot.
Yeah, just because of the way they play so much different than everyone else in this conference. They run the ball so much Really, them and Triple S play very similar, but I think Wes Johnson executes it better, and they have. And like I said, they've just done a great job running the ball these last 2 games. They've even gotten the passing game going a little bit there. For Triple S, this is a gut wrenching loss right now, because this pretty much, you never want to say a season's over, but
I feel like they're in a tough spot now. It's a very difficult spot.
Because now you have 1 win, and now you need to win out if you even want a chance at it. Versus Wes Johnson, I think if you beat Clayton,
they need
you beat
2
South,
more at least.
You beat East Wake. I think you might.
That would be 5 wins for them.
Right.
Considering they've started the season 0-5, right?
Right. I mean, but Clayton will be tough. Clayton will be extremely tough.
Yes.
Cleveland would be. I don't think there's a shot.
No offense. Cleveland is that good.
I think that they're the crown jewel of this conference right now. But Clayton, like I said, Clayton probably has the best chance. I'd probably put West right there, then South, and of course Triple S and East Wake.
But Wes Johnson's Damari Brockington lived up to a promise he gave you.
He sent me on Instagram because he put up a little poll on his IG story, and of course me surfing through the kids' IG story, seeing if there's anything interesting, like somebody got an offer or whatever. But he asked who was going to be at the game, yes or no. I put yes. He did the inbox and he said, "Hey man, I'm gonna get you an interception. I got another interception for you." I was like, "All right, bet. I want to see it." He did it. He did it right before halftime was over. Got it, and of course I had to get out there and get on to Clayton South Johnson.
But he did live up to the
and that's another thing too. Their defense looks really good. Their front 7 does a great job, and then they have corners like him who are very good at ball hockey.
Yes.
So I think really it's just all about if they can cut down their turnovers. So they did have a few turnovers against Triple S. You cut down your turnovers. You continue to play the good football that they've been playing.
Maybe get control. They control time of possession.
Right.
Make sure offenses stay off the field.
Right.
I think in this conference, from my vantage point, because I know I don't get to see this conference a lot,
right,
like with my own eyes, but from my vantage point, it just seems interesting. I know Cleveland is definitely the favorite. I mean, Amarion Hampton is continuing to do his thing out there. But like the other teams in that conference, there is a playoff spot for them if they can really hit this October, November.
The problem is for that conference is you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 more teams. You might can get 1 in there. You might can get 2 in there. Because you got to think about it. Clayton can probably
Cleveland's a lock. Everybody else is fighting for maybe 1 spot. Definitely 1 spot, maybe 2.
Right. So.
But yeah, that should be interesting.
From West Johnston, one side of the county, to the other side of the county, we go to Princeton, who of course got a big, I believe, 55-6 win over Union.
Whew.
And
they just continuing to take it.
Right down the road, 6 minutes away, Rosewood 55-7 over in my opinion, tougher Hopton team.
Yeah, well.
So
Princeton and Rosewood.
Both of these teams are in the top 15 of the adjusted Max Preps rankings, and both of these teams are
destined for deep playoff.
Yeah, both of these teams are on a 6-game winning streak.
Oh yeah.
Of course, Princeton's undefeated because they played 10 games this year, but
Rosewood's only losses to CB Acock, and they played pretty well in that game.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't turn the ball over 4 times, including 2 or 3 going into the end zone, then they probably win that game, possibly. Maybe.
But nonetheless, the collision course for these 2 great rivals is
November 8th.
It's oh my goodness.
I
know that's already on your schedule. 100%.
Yeah, that's definitely the game of the week for November 8th. Y'all. Everybody else can cancel shop. They got it reserved. When you look at that type of game, when you look at these 2 teams, both of them are just rolling over teams. It's not just because I looked at Hopton. Hopton's average is 40 points a game. They're one of the top 25 teams in the 1A in the state.
They held them to what, 7?
Held them to 7 points. Hopton to 7 points.
Rosewood is and the one thing I find interesting about Rosewood's situation is that when the high school OT projections came out, they were the top small 1A team.
Yeah.
Like in terms of
numbers.
students. So that could play a huge role depending on what happens the rest of the way.
I think just when you look at if they're shifting now to the small 1A and you consider that small 1A's best, the number 2 seed right now is currently Bear Grass Charter, who was 2-5. You look at Rosewood, they're number 4 in that. They're number 4 right now, according to High School T.
Is that for overall?
No, number 4 for small 1A.
Oh, okay,
They get the 4 seed in the small 1A. Yeah, I think you got to look at it. They got the best chance to win the state championship in this entire area, really, because it's a weak part of the 1A. It's a weak part of the 1A. Princeton is undefeated, but they got to go see Tarboro and John A. Holmes.
Eden's Homes, yes.
Those
Those are both the same.
Yeah.
It's the Aces.
Yeah.
But yes,
both of those teams would be extremely tough matchups for Princeton.
100% agree with that.
Versus Rosewood, when you consider, like I said, Bear Grass Charters will be ahead of them as a 2 seed. Now for Rosewood, you got to think now if you can beat Princeton on November 8th, you're probably the number 1 seed overall, and you're going to be at home the entire playoffs until you get to the state championship.
Yeah, I think that would definitely put them as a favorite in the 1A East. Another team, there are some good 1A teams mixed in there a little bit. Manio's one of them. Some of the Coastal Plains 1A teams maybe.
Right, of course. Tarboro continued to be Tarboro, rolling over Southside.
52-0.
Yeah, pretty easily. Then
there was a huge comeback.
Yeah, big comeback from Northside.
Yeah, that was.
I've been wrong about Northside too. I thought that this was the same team from last year. It's not the same team from last year.
Well, including their forfeit win over Jones Senior, who, if you recall, has canceled the rest of their season.
Yeah.
Northside is now at 5 wins because of that.
Right.
I think they were down 24-7 to Riverside, and they came back to win by.
It would be really real for Northside if they can beat Pamlico County.
That will be an amazing game.
Yeah, that is going to be, to me, who gets second place in that conference.
I'm definitely agree with that. I think Riverside and South Creek play each other again next week. I think South Creek was off from that. Let's see. But the only teams I'm covering right now in that conference is Northside and Southside. Right. Southside, I think they'll bounce back. They're a great program. I still believe in the Seahawks to at least for a playoff spot.
I don't think they get a playoff spot. It's not looking good right now. I don't think they were in the first initial projection.
I think they were one of the last teams in.
They might have been one of the last
still, that will put them in a tough spot. Yes.
But now they lost to Tarboro, so now you're probably going to beat a Pamlico County team. Probably going to have to beat a Northside. Probably going to have to beat Riverside. So,
but Pamlico actually did play Northside already.
Okay.
They won. So
Southside.
Yes, they play Southside next week. Yes.
Okay.
So that'll be that one. Southside definitely needs that one.
That's right. Northside and
Northside's been in some crazy. The entire Coastal Plains outside of Tarboro, there have been some extremely high scoring games out there.
But now transitioning into, of course, some quicker hitters that we don't have a lot of teams in. The EPC, North Johnston lost to Beddingfield. Beddingfield looked like Beddingfield again. North Johnston 28-7. It's a tough loss. I had them winning. I thought that that maybe off a road bye week, Beddingfield looked like probably a decent matchup for North Johnston. I was wrong. I've been wrong a lot this week. I'm owning all of them. Accountability Sunday. But I still have faith that North Johnston can get a playoff spot.
And I do too. I think that this next part of their schedule is where they have to start getting games. Next Friday, they play Farmville Central team that has been struggling.
Gotta win that.
Farmville Central, of course, got shut out by Nash Central 48.
Gotta win that game.
Must win.
And
I know Mike Barnett.
Then you got North Pitt next week on the road.
Yeah, that's right.
Gotta win that one too.
I know Coach Barnett wants both of those games, and then
when you go down
then you go to Pine. Then you I believe you host Southwest Edgecombe, and then that will be the final game.
We had an interesting take on that. Against Southwest Edgecombe, one of the best teams in the state, just sit everybody, coach. Just play the JV. Don't let anybody who's important play in that game, and get ready for Nash Central the next week, because Nash Central will be pretty much your last chance to get
and at least from my vantage point, maybe I would give them a pretty decent chance against Nash.
I mean, Nash Central's they are on an extremely funny spectrum when you consider
a wide range of
all of their losses are against state title contenders, but all of their wins are against winless teams. So
I believe, like I said, Bertie was one of them.
Bertie
was
Farmville
Central, and then they had a forfeit win over East Chapel Hill, and I forgot the other one.
Yeah,
but
Northeast Halifax, I think.
Southeast
Halifax. Yeah.
Thank you.
So and of course,
that's why he has my back. He has to help me out because
I have a team.
See, teamwork makes a dream.
Yeah.
North Pitt played as good as you possibly could play Southwest Edgecombe, 44-13. I mean, but they're a team they're fighting hard. They look a lot different than they did last year. The record's not going to show it.
Right.
Because of the competition they've played this year.
Right.
But I've definitely been impressed with Coach Watford and the Panthers.
Right.
Of course, the Cougars, Southwest Edgecombe, led by Keyshawn Porter, Cortez Jones, and offensive lineman and ECU commit Jaquez Powell. They should win the conference. I think it's just going to come down to the game against Bedingfield.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Bedingfield is the only competition in that. Bedingfield looked like they got back to form. They kind of got wrecked against Goldsboro. But
that one surprised us both.
That surprised us both. And then, of course, transitioning, Goldsboro, of course, lost to Wallace Rose Hill.
Going into East Central 2 right now.
Yep, 36-14, I believe it was.
Yeah, you almost had that score on the money.
Yeah, I did. I think I said 36. I think I said 34-16, Wallace Rose Hill.
That's just a tough one for the Cougars. I mean,
there's no one expects them to win that game.
I was going to say, that's pretty respectable. I mean,
no one expected them to win the game except for maybe themselves. This conference doesn't get any easier for them. Next week they go to Clinton. Then after that, they host James Keenan, who just took a loss to Midway. And then
I think that's a game they can get. That from my vantage point, I think they can get that one.
Then, of course, they host Midway.
Will be a tougher one because Midway.
No. Then they go on the road to Midway and then go on the road to East Duplin.
Yeah.
So there's no gimme game there. Maybe I think East Duplin's probably a best chance to get a win there, but you have to beat James Keenan, I think, just because that's probably the weakest of the last of the other three teams.
That's a home game, you said, correct?
Home
that's
game.
A game. That's a game we get. Oh, there's no motivation.
If you want to make the playoffs, you got to beat James Keenan. You got to beat East Duplin. I'm pretty much putting that out there.
That would be 5 for them.
Right, that'll be 5 for you. And but Clinton, I think it's a no-go.
Clinton has played really well this year.
Midway, I think that's a no-go.
That one is a lot tougher.
You got to put all of your eggs in on beating
James Keenan
and East Duplin, because that is the only way that you get in. Now, I'm sure they might upset someone just because I said that shit. You're not having no chance to play those teams.
Yeah, they've definitely been watching us make picks, including me. Yeah, we're really sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just is what it is. They've played a tough schedule.
They have. Yes,
they've been inconsistent as a team, and now it's.
I think they can agree with that too. I mean, I think all the coaching staff would definitely agree.
Right, I think now you're reaching a point where it's put up or shut up. Can we get that team against Bedingfield consistently? And, for all I know, I wasn't there, so I can't say if they were that team against Bedingfield and Wallace Rose Hill was just Wallace Rose Hill.
I think that if I had to guess, I would say it was Wallace Rose Hill being them.
Yeah.
I mean, they played a tough schedule themselves.
So we'll see. Of course, against Clinton. Clinton is just as tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as tough. Midway, like I said, just as tough. James Keenan, we saw them against North Johnston. They didn't look very good. From people who've been close to that, who watched that program, has been one of probably the worst teams in years, but they still managed to be, I think they only just lost their second game just now, 5-2, I think now. So that's still a tough game.
They're good. They're very good defensively. Most of the Duplin County schools pride themselves on having great defenses. So.
Yeah, so
But yeah, it should be.
We'll see about them. Let's see, where else do we gotta go hit? Let's talk about
8-man football.
8-man football.
8-man football. All right.
Wayne Christian finished up their season with a loss to, I believe, Northeast Hobgood.
That's not a bad team to lose to.
They aren't playoff eligible because I believe
They're independent. They're not in a conference, I don't think.
Yeah, something about them having to absorb Goldsboro homeschool into their team. Kind of, I think they had to wait a year before they could be playoff eligible now. Don't hold me on that, but I think that's.
But
that's
still,
what the situation is.
Still a very good season for Wayne Christian.
Definitely.
They definitely
4-3-1, the best season that they've had in their program history.
Something you could definitely be proud of, and I think they'll have most of their key guys back.
I believe so. Yeah, I think they're replacing their quarterback and probably their best receiver. But other than that,
hopefully Wayne Christian could come in and have a chance to make the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
The two teams I've covered that are 8-man, or excuse me, 3. John Paul II lost to Faith Christian of Rocky Mount, 73-46. Of course, Faith Christian won the state championship last year.
Defending champions.
But they have seen a little bit of struggle, Faith Christian, but John Paul, I think they're realizing now after that season opening game against Community Christian was kind of like an icebreaker. Now they've had to start playing the real good teams in that big 8-man, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I think it's kind of getting to them a little bit.
Oh yeah, Pungo Christian.
Oh yeah, Pungo. I'm sorry, Pungo. I'm getting to them in just a second. Actually, that's what I'll do. Yes, but yeah, John Paul's kind of struggled a little bit since that first game. Of course, because I forgot about Pungo, I'm really sorry about that. Coach Keach and the Raiders picked up their first one of the year against, speaking of food, Community Christian, 48-0. And that win is probably going to put them in a state semifinal. It will likely be against Halifax Academy, who just beat Bethel again, 40-16.
Beat them down,
and I was wrong about Halifax, so shout out to the Valley.
I saw Halifax against Wayne Christian, Eli Harris.
Eli's,
he's a man. He's a man amongst boys. I think he's going to run them all the way to a state title.
They're definitely the favorites now, 100%.
We thought it was Bethel Christian. We thought that the only reason they beat down Bethel Christian before was because Bethel Christian had some players out. Not the case.
Halifax is legitimately like a very. And they went to the state title game last year, so I should have known. My bad.
Speaking of sleeping on teams, you slept on the Arundel Parrot Patriots. We both did, honestly.
Well, wait. No, did I pick them this week?
You picked them this week, but going into the season, you
didn't
think this was possible.
That's a good point.
Neither one of us saw this, so I'm not gonna let them go out alone.
Because this is a very different Patriots team this year. They are a run first physical football team. But they actually went back to their roots this past week.
Passing yards.
And they might have found the quarterback as well, Wilkes Thomas. I mean, he's
freshman.
Yeah, Matt Beeman's just finding these guys and putting them in the positions to win. Got to give APA a lot of credit. They're, I believe, undefeated in 8-man football.
Yeah.
Of course, the 2 losses are close ones in 11-man to like Beargrass and Rocky Mount Prep.
Yeah.
But I think I picked the wrong private school squad that can win a state title. So sorry, Patriots. I didn't mean to do that. I hope you forgive me on that. They're a legit football team. I think they can win it. Yes.
Yeah, it's looking that way.
They beat Grace Christian by 2 scores, and that's a very improved Grace.
Faith Christian down pretty well too.
Yeah, that's just.
St. David's beat them down pretty good too.
Oof. And of course JP2 as well.
Yeah, of course.
So
JP2, yeah.
And Kerry Christian, that game might have changed everything for them because it was that first 8-man game. It was a low-scoring 1-point win that they grinded out, and I think it started this run. And they're now they're on a collision course with a chance at the title.
Right. Then, of course, finishing up, I think this is the last one that we got to hit, the North Athletic Conference.
Yep, 4A. Yep.
4A, Corinth Holders. Tough one. They dropped to Heritage, I believe, 48-17, I believe it was.
It's a tough conference.
The honeymoon has been over for Corinth Holders now for 3 weeks now.
Unfortunately, that might be it. I mean,
You
not
could
not
say-
it like it's over, but like these 3 weeks have just like
you've
really
had-
changed their year.
Yeah, you go from 4-0 to now you're looking at you had to play Cleveland, lost to Cleveland pretty big. Southwest Edgecombe beat you in the last second.
That one was really the tough one because they had a chance to win it right in the fourth
Right,
quarter.
that would have been a big signature win. You just probably need one more win in conference to get you into the playoffs. Now you don't get that one. You go to Heritage, you get beat up pretty good. Heritage is probably your best shot. From talking to people who work more toward the Raleigh
in the
game.
triangle. Shout out to the triangle.
Yeah, because when you look at it now, this week they got Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And after that, I believe they have, I'm going to say Knightdale.
I'm looking at it right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that if they play Wake Forest team is now hungry after, of course, after losing their first game, they started to roll.
And Wake Forest isn't even the best team in that conference according to Max Perp rankings because Roseville is still undefeated, and they are currently rolling. They have Roseville last, got Nightingale, Wake Forest, then at Wakefield, then you host Knightdale, then you got to go to Roseville.
Maybe the Knightdale game is their best. Maybe that's their best.
Maybe
chance.
Knightdale, maybe Wakefield. I think Wakefield is probably their best shot at getting that fifth win. Because I think you probably need 5 to have a chance.
And we need to stop sleeping on Roseville. Roseville's good.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, they're undefeated.
And there's a reason why they're undefeated, yeah.
So I think you need at least 5 if you want a chance to qualify. 6, I think, definitely gets you in.
100%, especially with that conference.
You got to win Knightdale. You got to win Wakefield, in my opinion, because now
it's looking pretty grim. I will admit.
Yeah, it's.
But I feel like they have to get back to playing good defense. I think that's where they have to win this game. Good defense and ahead of the change, time of possession game. Play that way.
I mean, when you look at it, just the last few weeks or so. I mean, other than Southwest Edgecombe holding them to 20. I mean, really, to me, it's been the offense more than anything. They haven't been able to score. Before their defense had been able to hold people to these low-scoring games, and they were able to just score 20 or 15, get themselves ahead. But now you got to get into the point where you got to score 30 as a team. You got to. It's pretty much mandatory in this conference. If you can't do that, you're probably going to find yourself sitting at home come playoff time.
Yeah, and that would be unfortunate with how great they started this season. Especially beating Clayton for the second time ever was one of their highlights.
Yeah, which I kind of felt like the Cleveland game will kind of tell us what we need to know about them.
That's true.
Just because
Cleveland
playing a state title contender, and really the test didn't go as well as I'm sure they wanted to. I mean, it wasn't really that close. Cleveland kind of got out ahead and kind of just kept rolling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a tough one. They got like I said,
Wake Forest
at this point in time, there's no more gimmies.
No more gimmies.
There's no holding your head down. You got to get up and keep rolling.
They're gonna, and I know they will. Of course, those kids are a bunch of hard workers. They really want to have a successful season this year. And get back to some of the earlier success, of course.
Right. So yeah, that's the show. Really, I think that's it.
Yeah, we just got any key games you have next week on
next
Monday?
week. Of course, I get it's going to be Kinston, Green Central. Green Central is going to be at Kinston.
I still don't know about Striker's game of the week, but I'm going to have a good choice, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's some good choice of games this week.
You got Rose and Acock.
That's going to be a really great game. Let me see.
Low key, if I can get that.
Goldsboro, Clinton.
Maybe. You would be at Eastern Wayne and New Bern as well, correct?
Yeah, Eastern Wayne, New Bern. I originally thought about going to Acock, but I said I give the Warriors some burn. I've only been to one of their games. Of course, it was the Wayne County Classic. It was a really good game, but just gonna go check them out since they put some egg on my face this week. Southern Wayne's going to South Central. That should be an interesting game. Just because, really Southern Wayne really has beaten themselves more than anything. So, I mean, maybe they can keep it close.
Yeah,
competitive.
And I think for South Central, I think them getting back to playing good defense will really help them turn their season around.
Right, and they held an Easter win of 14 last week. So, I mean, Princeton and Rosewood, of course, both of them, they are in conference play, but I think they're pretty much on autopilot until November 8th. North Johnson, like we said, has a big game against Farmville Central hosting.
The next 2 weeks are huge.
Then, of course, like I said, West Johnson, South Johnson. I think that will pretty much determine who will get third in that conference. Clayton versus East Wake, Cleveland versus, I believe, Triple S, if I remember right.
I think for me,
Cornholders versus Wake Forest.
Conley Washington will be a great game for me.
Yeah, Conley Washington.
Of course,
will be a great game.
Aiden Grifton will play South Lenore. They should have most of their key guys back, and I think Michael Webb had a concussion, and so did Vito Boyd, their offensive lineman.
Right.
Hopefully, they'll have among the others.
Right.
Hopefully, they'll have those two back.
Then, of course, too. Off of football as well, we got NCISAA playoffs coming up next week too.
That's right. The fall sports playoffs are starting soon. We'll
talk about that on the next JLB podcast. We have a special guest coming through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We won't spoil it, but we do want to shout out Wayne Country Day, volleyball and boys soccer. I know it's been a football show all the way, but they of course
Wayne Country Day soccer finishes up undefeated.
They probably will be the
top seed by the end of the day.
Rankings will come out for this. Should be out this evening, I think.
Volleyball, of course, 19-3, 17 game win streak.
Of course, absolutely, and of course for me,
23.
For me, parrot volleyball and soccer have had really good years. Especially shout out to the soccer team,
tennis team too,
and the tennis team. Yes.
Of course, tennis playoffs coming up this week as well.
Yep. APA soccer second conference championship in school history. Congratulations! They shared it with it. It was crazy. They shared it with all 4 teams agreed to share it. But we'll explain that on the podcast, I guess.
Yeah. So,
but I think that's it, Kai.
I think that's it, man.
I think it's good that we waited to do this.
I think it was good. We had a lot to say, a lot to do, a lot to talk about. Anything else?
I think that's it. I'm Laika Abibi. That's Kai Jones. JLB Rapid Reaction Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Catch us on the JLB podcast later this week. Peace out.